Hello and welcome back to another episode of Project Supercar, the channel where I've built my own DIY supercar using an old Audi A6 estate as a donor car. This is part 2, following on from part 1, where we were detailing how I managed to convert and alter the wiring loom from that donor car and make it work on my DIY supercar. So continuing on from part 1, where I left you with the question, why do I need a wiring loom from a 4-door car when this car clearly only has 2 doors? Now the reason why I need the rear door switches from this wiring loom is because on the A6, the 2.7T, it has an integrated alarm system and key fob system, so I can use the key fob to unlock the doors and turn the alarm on and off. Now on this car clearly only has 2 doors, but what I've designed is this panel here. This is the air intake, okay, and it bolts onto the side of the car with these here. Now, owning a kit car or owning a car that you only really use for the summer does have a few problems, and one of the problems is the battery going flat. So what I've designed in this car, or it will be on the 2.7T, is I want to fit an Anderson plug inside the bodywork somewhere, so over the winter months I can plug in a trickle charger and I can keep the car locked and the alarm on and it's secure. Now the idea is this panel here doubles up as a cover for the intercooler and the air intake. So what you can do is, once you park this car up in your garage, you can remove this panel. You can then gain access to the electrics, and there'll be like an Anderson plug in the bodywork. Nothing else will be exposed. You can't get to anything else with the car, but you can then just plug in your trickle charger, so it keeps the battery nice and topped up. But then you're going to ask, well, why do I still need 4 doors? Why do I need the sensors, the door switch? Well, say I'm out and about, I've parked this in a car park and there might be some tow rags around, and they might think, oh, let's try unbolting this and have it away, stick it on eBay or something, you never know. Well, what I want to do is fit an internal door switch, a waterproof one, inside this panel, so if you haven't unlocked the car, you remove this panel, it sets the alarm off. And that's why I need 4 door switches. Now if you've been following along, then you know that I did 3 detailed videos of me removing this wiring loom from the new donor car. But when I was removing the wiring loom from the original donor car, I just took a series of pictures. So I thought I might just show you a few now, just to give you an idea of what you might find in your donor car, or what it takes to build something like this. So what we have here is this is a genuine Audi bracket for the AMP connectors. Yeah, this style of connector that's used on my prototype is a Audi Volkswagen connector, and I believe it is referred to as the AMP connector. And there it is. There's one of the connectors. So that's an AMP connector found on Audis and Volkswagens from the mid-90s, I think it is, early 2000s. Right, here's a corner of the footwell, which is in the driver's position, where the driver's sitting in the footwell. That's where the relay box is, and you can just see a terminal block at the top there. You can also see the that's the rear of the fuse box at the top part of the picture there. And that's the passenger footwell. Again, this is prototype stuff, okay? This is not a finished car, so it looks a bit messy, okay? Because obviously there's no point making everything look neat when I have to pull it all out again. Because when you're building your own DIY supercar or kit car or whatever, it's not a linear process, okay? What tends to happen is you build it, you test it out, and then you have to strip it apart several times. So that's in the footwell of the passenger side of the car. This is the courtesy lights for the interior. Now they're not Audi. That's from another donor car which we will get into in later episodes. And as you can see, they do actually work. So it is wired in and it does work. Here's some more connectors. Just having a closer look, you've got sockets and plugs. A little bit fuzzy, sorry for the bad picture, but that's just a layout of the plugs there. Again, sorry, not a great picture. These are just reference photographs that I took when I was stripping the original donor car. And this is the bracket inside the footwell of the donor car. And there it is again. So this was on the inside of the Audi A6 A4, on inside the footwell. Here's another picture of some brackets, some plugs, terminal block. There's a closer look at the terminal block from the donor car. There's another close-up of the brackets with some of the sockets still in place. Another picture. These are just reference photos that I took. And some relays, 214, 217, not sure what they do, I'll have to double check that. Here's the back of another set of plugs and connectors. You have to find places for all these in your DIY supercar, they've got to go somewhere. And there's another bracket with a series of plugs and connectors. And here's some of the extra connectors and plugs I took from my another donor car. So I went to a scrapyard and I cut out some plugs and connectors so that I could extend the wiring loom from the engine to the rest of the loom. Here's a close-up of some pins. Obviously there was two sets of pins on this wiring loom, a smaller one and a larger one. And this is a 9-pin connector. I needed to put a 5-meter extension in here. So this connects to the engine and the other side of it connected to the back of the speedo, clocks, that sort of thing. So this was the second loom I had to extend. So I made an extension for the engine itself to the main loom and then a second extension for the engine to the speedo and the rev counter, that sort of thing. And that's it for those pictures. Hope they've been of use to you. Of course, if you're on a budget like me, then you will probably be using the wiring loom from your donor car and all the connectors and brackets and all that sort of stuff, which is fine. But if you've got some more money, you could start from scratch and build your own wiring loom.
On this build, we are using the factory engine and a lot of the sensors, but we are replacing the entire harness of the car and putting in race-grade electronics. A big part of a car build is all the electronics and the wiring harness. Because we've simplified the car so much compared to the factory, we can get away with a lot less wiring. And the wiring that we are running is what they call mil-spec wiring. It's short for military specification because a lot of the components that are used in these harnesses are used in aerospace, military vehicles, and other type of high-end equipment. The heart of the electronics is the AEM Infinity ECU that we're using. This ECU, engine control unit, is specifically designed for motorsports electronics.
So if you've got wads of cash, you might be able to do something like that. I don't have wads of cash, so that's why it's all DIY and it's done on a budget, but it's done with quality in mind. I don't want to be doing bodges, okay? But you can do quality on a budget. I don't want to go too deep on this video, but there was a couple of issues with the first donor car, which was the Audi A6 C4. Number one, it had pneumatic central locking, so it wasn't electric, which wasn't going to work with this car. On the older Audis, they had like an air pump, and you have a reservoir, and then what would happen is that that would be used to unlock and lock your car. I've got different locks on this, it's not Audi, and we'll go into that in another video. And also this thing has electric windows, but the electric windows from this and the glass is also from another donor car, so I had to redesign the electric window system on the donor car. Again, I'll go into that when we cover the doors and all that sort of stuff. Okay, but what I did want to do is just to show you a series of probably 4 diagrams that I did, because what you need to do is that when you're modifying the wiring loom, you need to take notes. So there is a different courtesy light in here. So what I had to do is rewire the courtesy light from a different donor car into this, and this circuit diagram is just the plug pins, where the pins go, what they do. So that's just something I did on the computer, nice and clean. This is the door lock wiring setup, okay. We'll probably cover that in later episodes, but the idea on this car is that it's going to have an alarm, and when you switch the alarm off, I wired it so there would be a negative drop, and that would unlock the doors, but we'll cover that later. This is the electric window wiring loom, okay, from another donor car. Feel free to pause any of these if you want. And this is the main under dash wiring loom. This is some pin locations that I needed to remember in there, sort of thing. So again, I did it all nice and neat on the computer so I won't forget. And that'll do 4 wiring diagrams, I think. Now, one of the things you've got to consider when you're designing your DIY supercar is the rain, because your car lives outside, it's going to get wet, so you've got to put some thought into where you're going to put your electrics and try and protect them as much as you can from the weather. And it might surprise you, but there's many car manufacturers out there who seem to forget this, including Lamborghini.
Well, we've got a new victim that's arrived over the last few days. This is a Lamborghini Countach. This is a lovely car. It's all original, never had any paintwork, never had any leather work. It's done 9,600 kilometers from new, and it hasn't run for a number of years for various reasons. So we've just got it in to try and get a tune out of it, haven't we?
We have, yeah. Where I've got to at the moment is the testing of the ignition module.
Right.
Which is hidden under the wing here.
Yeah.
As you know, they're renowned for not being very good.
The other thing to bear in mind is when people wash them, and this car hasn't been washed that much, but when they wash them, the water drips through these vents. And on that side, you've got a relay pack, the ignition system, and a load of fuses right underneath the vent. It's not the finest piece of industrial design, is it?
Not really.
So shame on you, Lamborghini. You need to keep this dry, okay? Anyway, I think that'll do. I think I've recorded way too much again, as usual. So we'll call this an episode, and what we'll do is, because the electrics is such a complicated subject, as I go over this car in coming episodes, I'll go into more detail with the central locking, the electric windows, probably the windscreen wipers, that sort of stuff, and the headlights as well. I'll cover the headlights and the rear lights when I do an episode on the bumper and the clam and the bodywork. So I think the next episode, the next episode will be one on the donor car, because I've got to start stripping out the exhaust and that sort of thing. But the episode after that should be the beginning of the bodywork. So we'll go over styling, and what we'll do is I will cover the roof, how I made that, and then we'll see where it goes. So thanks for watching. I'd like to say thanks for all the likes and subscriptions, and if you share it and everything like that, thanks a lot. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.